up, everybody? I am here with, if you could introduce yourself.
I'm Hannah.
Hannah, she's lovely, she's great. She's born in Philadelphia, raised in Philadelphia?
Actually, no, I'm from the Midwest.
Okay, what brought you to Philly originally?
Well, there's a very adorable guy and better job opportunities.
Okay.
So those things were just winners.
The future is great. So what do you think coming from the Midwest to Philadelphia? Is there like a culture shock? Was there a lot of differences, like how people treat one another, kind of how people do their daily activities?
Well, there's definitely a culture shock, I'd say. It took me a little while to really open up to the idea of being used to driving in Philadelphia compared to Midwest driving, I'd say. And I was impressed with the amount of diversity and people there were in Philadelphia when I came here. So I was like, wow. And all the food.
We do have a lot of different types of food, which is kind of crazy. I think it's just an East Coast thing. So we're here today to talk about addiction, living life with people that are struggling with addiction and kind of the process of getting them help, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is kind of give us a little bit of backstory of your kind of experience with addiction and people dealing with addiction?
Well, when I first came to be on the earth, I was born to a parent who was addicted. And from that point on, it was definitely a struggle growing up as a kid. I wanted to find some answers, so I went into dual diagnosis and the addictions process, started studying up on that a little bit, and started getting my answers from heading into the nursing world. Someone had to be a nurse in the family anyway, so I figured it may as well be me. I was brave enough to do it, or at least I thought I was at the time. So.
Okay. And what has that experience been like for you?
It's been definitely rewarding, but there was a lot of sacrifice that came into it. Nursing in general they don't discuss in nursing school just how much sacrifice goes into the career, and the mental turmoil that you struggle with in nursing and with addictions nursing in general. It's you have to take frequent breaks from the job because you get a lot of stress, giver burnout. So.
Okay, and can you kind of divulge a little bit on that? Like, if somebody has no information on this and what it's kind of like, most people kind of get the first-hand knowledge of your sister or your cousin or maybe your mother or brother are addicted, right? And you're getting that first kind of interaction. But what's it kind of like as an outsider and helping others that you have no connection to other than the job?
You recognize that it's less of a moral failing and more of a compulsion. When you see people who are going through addiction, it's a lot like OCD in a way. The similar pathways in the brain light up like OCD. Okay. So you notice people who are going through addiction on the outside looking in, you see the damage that's doing to their lives from what they're telling you, and you're seeing that they're going through the compulsion of having to use again because of some sort of unaddressed demon, usually people with addiction, like my parent, would be masking for a mental illness or trauma in the past. So most people with addiction, they are I believe they're just running from a trauma or a pain or a mental illness that's unaddressed.
Okay. So maybe some sort of way to help with addiction is to address the reward and punishment system people do for themselves. Right?
That and address the core issue that they're trying to avoid, I guess, for lack of a better term. For my parent with addiction, they've got major depression, they've got PTSD. They're medicating for those things. There are certain treatments and therapies that exist that can help address that, not make it go away.
Okay.
You know, you're gonna have some PTSD, you're gonna have some trauma and those memories until for the rest of your days, at least unless sweet dementia gets you. But if we could even call it sweet dementia. But there is a root cause that gets people. It's not just a biological and a genetic issue that happens with addiction, or it's an environmental and a root cause has taken place that's burned them into going into addiction.
Okay. Has there ever been someone that you remember keenly helping, and like kind of the strategy you went through to help them cope with their addiction?
Yes, there's a few people along the way that I know I've helped out.
Can you touch base on kind of what their addiction was, like what they were addicted to, and kind of your guidance that helped them through that?
A common denominator I see in people with addiction is a lot of them are addicted to central nervous depressants such as benzos and alcohol. Those two things are pretty ugly.
Okay.
Excuse me. So the common denominator the common thing that I noticed that would help them out with getting through it would be either supportive care for while they're going through the actual detox process, the medication that would be there to help them with the mental illness that they're trying to self-medicate for, or the therapy to help them with the thought processes that led into the compulsion of needing to use in the moment.
Okay.
Those things, that's like a three-pronged attack. Now I recognize that not everybody is the same, and I feel like a lot of the detox stuff that we do is very cookie cutter. Unfortunately, not everybody's a cookie cutter person. Everybody has unique problems, and don't even get me started on how like AA can work, but AA also can't work in a way. That's a whole other can of worms for another day.
Okay.
But those are the things that I found, the three common denominators that I found that really helped my people when they're going through it was just the therapies, the medications, and the supportive care, and addressing their thoughts in the moment.
Right.
Cognitive reframing.
So you suggest more individualized treatment processes than your standard kind of original treatment.
Yeah.
Have you ever struggled with addiction personally?
Well, I am a nicotine hound, and it started when I was 16 years old. My parent wound up going into the jail, fell off the bus pretty hard, and went to jail. And I thought I would get back at him by smoking a cigarette. I smoked a couple cigarettes, and then I got addicted. I was able to put it down after about a year, and then after some really bad shit happened in college, I picked it back up again. And then I was able to put it down again for a while, and then COVID frontlining happened, where I wound up being plucked out of being a psychiatric nurse and turning into a COVID frontline nurse, because I had subacute experience. A lot of people died. And every time somebody died under my care, I'd go out for a cigarette.
Makes sense.
Now I'm stuck on nicotine, and I'm trying to get off of it again. I'm in the pre-contemplation phase. I'm not quite ready to quit yet, but I've been thinking about it.
It's tough, struggling with anything is bad for you, but you use as a reward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When either something's down and you just want to feel better, or like, hey, this is a great moment. It'll be a cherry on the top of the tree. You know what I mean? So, I feel like throughout my entire life, I've only ever seen addiction, right? And I have an addiction all the time to adrenaline and to kind of just going out. And I grew up with people that were addicted to not just any drug, just all drugs, just like whatever they could get their hands on or their mouths around, to literally just get out of the moment, to stop feeling what they were feeling, and they all lost their lives. Like, you don't really walk away from something like that when you are that bad at it, right? Like, just anything, right? So like, if you don't have $5, you go to like Walgreens and you steal NyQuil, right? And you do robo tripping, you know. And so it's a scary world, and I feel like the only thing that's so common that I see in all the addiction is the lack of communication and a huge just like barrier of where like people have pride and embarrassment for their family and their friends. Like they don't want to say, hey, I'm struggling, or hey, it's really bad right now, right? Like I just, all I can think about is drugs. All I can think about is being numb. All I can think about is not wanting to feel how I feel right now. And it's a very scary thing, right? Life, right? Like no matter how much you plan it, everything can go wrong.
Yeah.
As soon as possible, something can go wrong and mess it all up, right? So, and we live in such a society nowadays that everybody is isolated, right? Everybody, you got to get your own job, you got to get your own car, you got to get your own phone bill, you got to get your own everything. It's not, there's no family crests, there aren't family guilds, there aren't community, there isn't, you know, the closest thing we have to community parenting right now is like everybody has two baby moms or two baby dads and nobody's together. That's a lot different than like there's 4 single families and they're all in a community together raising their children, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of factors we see every day that build into it, right? And addiction isn't just, you know, it can be nicotine, it can be buying equipment, it can be drugs, it can be your Starbucks coffee 2 times a day, and that's stealing from, you know, something else like paying your rent, right? Because $8 a day for somebody who only makes $7.25 an hour, it's pretty tough, right? So it's a tough world, and I feel like it's only getting tougher because there's such a stigmatism of like it's not okay to be an addict, it's not okay to be high, it's not okay to be struggling, it's not okay to be homeless, it's not okay to be poor, it's not okay. Nobody chooses any of that. There's very few people I've ever met that are like, I want to be an addict, I love this life, I love the adrenaline, I love the craziness, I love the danger, I love stealing. That's okay and all, but that's almost a borderline mental issue, right? If you recognize that you love testing the limits and putting yourself in dangerous situations and having a very unstable life, that's not mentally stable, right?
Yeah.
To what we would define it as, right? So,
Yeah.
and I feel like we're also moving in such a weird way where we're not defining things anymore. We're kind of just letting people define themselves, right? Like how they feel about their gender. And I don't want to say nothing, whether there's 2 genders or whatever, but our generation grew up in a world where everything was kind of black and white. And now we're moving into a world where it's like, well, it's whatever you want it to be, right? If you want to be a girl and you were born a guy, whatever, say you're a girl. And that's cool. Well, there's some underlying issues, right? Where if the whole world can't communicate clearly and understand perception clearly, right? Like, that's cool. If we want to agree there's 4 genders, that's cool. Everybody's got to agree there's 4 genders. If we want to agree it's not okay to be an addict, that's great. We all have to agree it's not okay to be an addict. But we have to come up with some kind of understanding of like what this is, right? What addiction is, why people struggle with it, right? To even touch base on if it's okay or not, right? Like, I have never met a single person that isn't addicted to something, whether it be a health routine, like working out, whether it be a diet routine of like what they can eat, whether it be alcohol or, you know, we hear it right now, it's 60 degrees out and it's the first nice day in a long time. Motorcycles, right? That's a huge addiction. I personally have broken 18 bones and I just yearn for another motorcycle, right? So like there's something wrong there. I understand it's very dangerous whenever I tell people that are in the medical field, oh, you're an organ donor, you know what I mean? They know that's a bad thing. Oh, that's dangerous, right? So it's something nobody kind of understands, including the people that are ruining the auto right now. They don't understand why they want to wear, you know, a leather vest that has patches on it, where they're in a club and they're riding a Harley compared to somebody on a sports bike. It's so unique that everybody has kind of their own individualism, but we don't talk about it enough for people to understand it. We only touch on it enough for everybody to judge one another. And that's what I think casts everybody out into this addiction, because from the time we were young in school, we weren't accepted, we were judged. Right? You didn't go to third grade and walk into third grade and everybody in that classroom was like, oh, Hannah's fucking here, dude. Look at her outfit, look at her fucking stylish sunglasses. Like, look, she's so fly today. You walked in there like, where'd you get them shoes, dude? Kmart? Like, why are you dressed in Levi's today, Hannah? Dude, what's wrong with your hair? Hannah smells. Like, that was what elementary was for most people. Every day, just a different roast of like what, and that's not, that doesn't like cultivate good self-esteem or good kind of interaction and communication between people. It cultivates like, man, I don't know if Hannah's fit today, or like if that's like a weird look, you know. It's so weird that we don't communicate with each other properly, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many times out of a week do you have like a weird, like, awkward run-in with a stranger? Do you come into Philly often?
Not as often as I would like.
Okay. So I feel like at least once or twice a week I run into a stranger and it's just like hostile. Like, right off the bat, they're just like, why the fuck are you around me? And it's just like, well, because I live here, you live here, this is the planet, you know? So it's tough. What do you think would kind of help society as a whole deal with all this? And the huge kind of symptom we're seeing of just everybody's depression and everybody's isolation is such a high rate of addiction.
Well, unfortunately, we are in post-COVID times. That being said, we did just deal with a giant isolation situation that came with COVID. So now we are trying to figure out how to reconnect as a society, I would say, in post-COVID times. What would help us the most out, I think, would be community, a stronger community, perhaps stronger order within the community in a way where law enforcement, instead of trying to punish people who are struggling with addiction, there should be more safe injection sites. There should be law enforcement willing to work with people on the streets to help with them in their addiction, being trained in de-escalation. There is a lot that can be said for people who just take the time to de-escalate situations as opposed to escalating them into like high alert or peak tension with the individual that you run into on the street. Easily it can be said just a kind word or a thoughtful message or something instead of just mean looks. We are such an isolated society, and social media, I know, has definitely put fire on that, or put gas on that fire. So, like,
if there were more community centers, like almost like there are abundancy of malls and shopping districts, do you think people would have a stronger sense of community? Like, if there was somewhere you could go on a Friday night that there wasn't like alcohol or there wasn't drugs, you could just kind of like hang out and spend time with the people in your community and do fun activities and kind of grow, like learn new things. Would you go visit a place like that? Would that be something that like
oh yeah,
would be entertaining?
In a heartbeat. I used to know about this like dance studio that was in Kansas that I would play in, that I would go to on Friday nights, and I was a grown person hanging out in a dance studio with some friends, and that's what we would do on Friday nights. Now, if we had like communities and studios and, I don't know, 24-hour gyms would be nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Again. I miss
Is
those.
Planet Fitness not 24 hours?
You know what? I haven't paid attention to Planet Fitness in a while.
Okay.
But the gym I used to go to was 24 hours. That's neither here nor there.
Okay.
But like,
I feel like I haven't been in a gym in years. Long time.
that's all right.
Long time.
Well, you look great.
Thanks. Metabolism does great. So is there anything that you kind of seen work, for somebody struggling with addiction, that's like some kind of process that you've seen save somebody's life?
Easily talking them through it. Asking them why they're doing it. Encouraging them to be open and honest with the people around them, because the people around them are really going to be the ones that catch them when they fall. Encouraging honesty, because if you're not honest with your addiction, how can you be honest with other people about your struggles? The ones that care, that want to see you succeed.
What about the people that don't want to disappoint their friends and their family? I feel like I've literally lost a friend because he couldn't just say, hey, I want to get high. You know what I mean? So he went and got high in a room alone and died.
Those people, they have to be open and honest too. It's hard. It's so hard. I know you don't want to disappoint your friends and your family, but they would be even more upset and broken without you.
Yep. It is definitely something you never forget, losing a friend. That way, anyway, because they don't choose to leave. They choose to be numb, I guess, but not leave in that way.
Sorry for your loss, though.
It's okay. That's the world, I feel like I'm the only one that made it out of my neighborhood. And that's sometimes how the world went hundreds of years ago. It wasn't self-inflicted. It was due to illness, due to animals, due to war, you know what I mean? So now we're dealing with literally our self-inflicted sadness. And it's mind-boggling. And I deal with it, all the time. I'm sad all the time. But, I feel like one thing I learned as a child was there's two things you can do when you're sad, right? You can kind of go and sit in it and just make choices that are sad, that are self-destructive, right? And we know they're self-destructive. I've made tons of self-destructive choices. I'm sure we all have. Or there's just go out and explore. Just go out, and it's miserable, right? You're having a bad day, you go out, and it's still a bad day in the beginning. But the more you're out, communication and emotions are infectious, right? If I'm having a bad day, I can make you have a bad day pretty easy, right? But if you're having a good day, you can also make me have a good day pretty easy as well. It's almost like a magnetism. So the more sad you are, the more encouraging you should be to yourself to just get out there and just wait for somebody else to walk past it. Just lighten up your day a little bit. Could be an 80-year-old grandma that's oh, sorry, honey, I got this shopping cart all mixed up. I don't know how to work these things. And you can take that as two ways. Oh, I miss my grandmother. I'm sad, right? And you go and, make your day worse. Or, help her out. Move the shopping cart. That's somebody else's grandma. Let her give you a cookie she pulled out of her purse. You don't know if it's a week or two old, but, Take it. Exactly. So, and you don't get those small, weird opportunities sitting, making self-destructive decisions. Because if you're stewing, right, you go to that grocery store and you're going up to pick up some liquor or a bottle, some beer, and you run into that grandma and you're sad and she sees you're sad, making a self-destructive decision, she might not even interact with you. She might just be like, ooh, I'm having a bad day. I want to stay away from that vibe. 80 years old, she still knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although she don't know how to use the grocery cart, she still knows what bad vibe feels like, right? So you have to, and it's not easy. It's super easy to say it, go out there and try to be happy, right? It's not easy. It's not. Some days it don't work, right? But a permanent solution to a temporary problem never works, right?
No.
If you're sad one day, going out and getting high every day will only make you high every day, right? So
You gotta break that chain.
yes.
got to break that chain.
Is there anything else you kind of want to touch on? Say to the people?
To my friends and family and those who are suffering with addiction, it's hard. Just please be honest with those you love and take it one day at a time. If you found sobriety, I'm happy for you. I'm very proud for you. Take it one day at a time.
Yeah, I mean, there are absolute success stories and failure stories everywhere you go. I mean, one of my biggest mentors went from 28 and homeless to 40 and a self-made multimillionaire, employing over 30 people, running offices in multiple states, just bringing happiness. You know, a leader in his church, a leader in his community, something that if you looked at maybe 27-year-old him and said, this is what this guy is gonna do, they'd be like, nah, no way, dude. No way. You see that guy 20 minutes ago puking in the corner? He ain't making that happen, you know? So it's all about what you make life, you know? Every day is a different day, and you just have to go out there and make it your day. And I thank you very much for sitting down and talking to us and spreading kind of your word and your experiences in life.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.